What's going on, everyone? It's Alex here from Aleks Physio. So today I'm going to be sharing with you my personal rib injury story. Welcome. For those of you who are new to my channel, my name is Alexander Kravich. I'm a physiotherapist in Vancouver, British Columbia, and today I'm going to be sharing you my personal rib injury story. This happened about 8 years ago. I was playing basketball, my favorite sport, and basically I was driving in for a layup and I was pushed while I was in midair and I fell and landed on my back. I didn't really think much of it, although I've never really fallen in that way where I just fell directly on my back. I didn't use my hands to control my fall or slow down my fall, just right on my back. I was able to continue to play for the rest of the day, and that evening felt okay, but the next morning when I woke up, I was having a lot of difficulty with taking deep breaths. Anything that generated any intra-abdominal pressure around that area was quite sore and quite provocative. I didn't really know too much about physiotherapy because I was still in my undergraduate years. I was doing my kinesiology degree. I was in third year, and I didn't really know what to look for. So I ended up going to the sports medicine clinic in town, and I was seen by a sports medicine doctor who did a bunch of different tests. I didn't have any imaging done at that time, which I didn't know what the protocol would have been, but they were basically applying a lot of pressure from the outside of my ribs and pushing inwards and front to back. They were basically trying to look at the springiness of my ribs, or if anything was tender or was reproducing any symptoms. They asked me to cough, take deep breaths, and just were looking for anything that would warrant serious complication or warrant a rib fracture or any other injuries. And fortunately, I answered no to all those questions. I didn't have pain when they were compressing from side to side and front to back. Didn't have any tenderness on palpation as well. So they basically told me that I don't have a rib fracture, that I probably just had a rib bruise or a rib contusion, contusing some of the bones in that area, and even some of the muscles were injured, but generally told me that this would be something that would get better within a period of a few weeks, and over the next several days I would be expected to make a lot of improvements. Now at that point I was maybe 4 or 5 days since my injury, and I was still in quite a bit of pain, but I did notice that it was improving as each day went on, just in small increments, which is obviously reassuring when you do notice that, and it is reassuring when somebody else tells you that, who obviously has more experience and expertise than you do. So that gave me the reassurance that there was nothing that was fractured, or there was no serious complication with regards to what had happened. I didn't expect there to necessarily be a fracture, but because I've never experienced what I had experienced, where I was having pain with deep breaths and with coughing, and certainly aware of just all of the movements that I was doing, because with rib injuries or thoracic area injuries, you're aware of it on each breath that you take, and you can't immobilize your ribs, or you can't immobilize your thorax region just because of the fact that you have to breathe, of course. So that gave me the reassurance that things would be okay. And in addition, he did state that even with the rib fractures, if there are isolated rib fractures without any evidence of compromise to any other internal organs or any other systems, that generally these things do get better with time, and they don't require any form of surgical intervention, and you can't really do too much about it except slowly building up your activity and your exercise tolerance based on what you're feeling. So I just wanted to share you the story because this isn't necessarily something I became super passionate about once this happened, but it is something that I can relate to a lot of you who are commenting on these videos, sharing with me your story and what happened and how much pain you're having. Well, I didn't have a rib fracture myself. I did have an injury to this area, and it can be quite fearful and intimidating in terms of not sure what it could be and what's causing some of these symptoms. But as I mentioned in some of my other previous videos, that getting imaging done, seeing the appropriate medical professional to make that determination whether or not you need imaging, like an X-ray or CT scan, doing an exam of you and asking all these questions and mentioning all these points to you, figuring out the mechanism of injury, feeling around the area. Those are things that you want to aim for, not necessarily listening to what I have to say, because what I'm saying is just kind of general educational advice versus specific medical advice. And I know I continue to harp on this in all my videos and in all my comments, and I try to respond to every single person's comment who tells me their story. It's that fine line where, because I don't know you as one of my patients and you're not one of my patients, then I can't give direct medical advice. So please seek the appropriate medical care or the medical advice as you can. If you have had a rib injury and think you may have a rib fracture, especially if there are some of those other symptoms that may be playing a role with it, and if it's been a period of time and you haven't really noticed noticeable improvement, definitely get it checked out and speak to a healthcare provider. Hopefully you found some value in this story. Hopefully it kind of bridges a connection between myself and you, if you are having a rib injury or have broken your ribs, in terms of me kind of having an idea or an understanding of what you're going through. These injuries can be very scary and they can be very painful. So it's important to know that you're not alone. There's people online and there's individuals that are hoping to try to educate people on these matters and give some advice with regards to the nature of the injury. If you haven't already, so please feel free to check out some of my other videos where I chat about rib fractures and some of the associated aspects with differentiating a rib bruise versus a rib fracture, and some of the other videos I chat with regards to improving your mobility and your function if you do have a rib fracture, and things to be mindful of, things to avoid, things to do exercise-wise, positioning-wise, day-to-day life-wise. If you find value in my content, please consider subscribing to my channel. It really allows my channel to grow and allows me to reach a wider audience. I have over 450 videos on various physio, exercise, and medical related topics. Yeah, it really allows me to reach a wider audience. So that's it for this video. Let me know in the comments below why you think these rib injury videos are gaining a lot of popularity, at least in my channel, relative to some of my other videos. I'm always trying to build out my channel and to reach a wider audience for all kinds of topics, not necessarily just from rib fracture and rib injury videos. So that would be super appreciative if you can comment below and let me know your story with regards to your rib injury or rib fractures, and what have you found that has helped you and what hasn't. And until then, we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.